Guess we'll pick up this morning with Isaiah chapter 46. And this morning Isaiah is going to touch on the idols and the images that the people of Israel fell trapped to trying to follow the other nations about. So before we begin, it's a very short chapter. It's 13 verses. Would anyone volunteer to read the entire chapter, and then we'll go back through it verse by verse? Okay.
Bel boweth down, Nebo stoopeth, their idols were upon the beasts and upon the cattle. Your carriages were heavy loaden, they are a burden to the weary beast. They stoop, they bow down together, they could not deliver the burden, but themselves are gone into captivity. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb. And even to your old age I am he, and even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. To whom will ye liken me, and make me equal, and compare me, that we may be alike? They lavish gold out of the bag, and weigh silver in the balance, and hire a goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. They bear him upon the shoulder, they carry him and set him in his place, and he standeth from his place, shall he not remove. Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet can he not answer, nor save him out of his trouble. Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, I have spoken it. I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it. I will also do it. Hearken unto me, ye stout-hearted, that are far from righteousness. I bring near my righteousness. It shall not be afar off, and my salvation shall not tarry. And I will place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory.
So let's look at these verses here before we get going. So in the first two verses here, we see that the Babylonians had to carry their gods, these idols, around, and it was a burden. They had to carry the idols that they were worshiping around, and then in verses 3 and 4, we actually see that God carried his remnant of the house of Israel. So God didn't rely on the people to carry him around, and Isaiah's getting the picture painted here of how foolish this is, that they're actually creating these little images, and if they want these images to go with them, they would have to pick them up and carry them with them. But he's painting the picture that that's not how the one and only true God actually is. So in verses 5 through 7, just like Mark read here, there's a question. A question that's basically emphasizing the uniqueness of God when compared to these pagan idols, these images that they've created. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. And then verses 8 through 11, just like Mark had read, God is the one acting on behalf of the people. And we have, in verses 12 and 13, we also have it known that God is bringing salvation for the people. So we're going to dive into all this, and Isaiah is just trying to yet again get the point across to the people. This is just so foolish that you guys are really wrapped up into these idols that you're creating, knowing of all of what God has done for you, but yet we found ourselves here at this stage in life that you're really going to put your faith into these idols. So the verse starts off by saying, Bel boweth down, Nebo stoopeth. Their idols were upon the beasts and upon the cattle. Your carriages were heavy loaden, and they are a burden to the weary beast. So does anyone know what people these gods would have belonged to? Does anyone remember some of our past studies here about Bel and Nebo? right. That's right. Baal is actually another name for Marduk, and this is one of the Babylonian gods, and we can read about Marduk in other places in the Bible. And Nebo was yet another god that they came up with, that they worshipped. And so the picture being painted here is Baal and Nebo. You know, these idols were upon the beasts, upon the cattle. Your carriages were heavy loaded. You were toting these things around wherever you went. Why? Because they were just simply items that you created. They are a burden to the weary beast, and they're a burden to the people too. You know, any god that needs to be carried around is ultimately a burden. You can't put your faith into something like this. You can't expect these items to take care of your salvation and to protect you. They're false gods. They're a burden. You know, those who bow down to them, these are heathen nations. It says they stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but themselves are gone into captivity. So all this faith that the people started putting into these images and these false gods, at the end of it all, it proved itself, just like Isaiah is warning them. The people ended up in captivity, so these gods couldn't protect them from captivity. So now they're being punished. Now the true powerful God is coming out, the one who is the Almighty Creator, and the one that they should be putting their faith in. And that's the picture that we're going to see throughout this entire chapter here. So, false gods cannot deliver the people, but instead Isaiah says they're nothing but a burden. And then he goes on to say, he says, "Hearken unto me, O house of Israel, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which ye carried from the womb, and even to your old age I am he, and even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made and I will bear, even I will carry and will deliver you." So, when we're looking at this, first off, when we have here the house of Jacob and the house of Israel, so who are we talking about here? It says, well, I'll just go ahead. So, hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel. So these are the remnant. These are the ones who were faithful to God, who kept their faith, who wanted to do right, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb, and even to your old age I am he, and even to hoar hairs I will carry you. So those who are faithful unto God, we know that God will take care of. As a matter of fact, when the people were hearing this told to them, it should have really reminded them of some past events, of how God indeed carried them and protected them. As a matter of fact, one of those events that should have came to mind for the people as they're listening to this message is going to be back in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, you know, we can see here starting in verse 30, "The Lord your God which goeth before you, he shall fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes." And then in verse 31 it says, "And in the wilderness there thou hast seen how that the Lord thy God bare thee, as a man doth bear his son, in all the way that ye went, until ye came unto this place." So here we have a reminder of how God will indeed take care of his people. But in comparison with these false idols, you're not going to get that from them. You're not going to get that from the little images that you've created out of a piece of wood or a piece of metal. That protection is not going to be possible. So Isaiah's telling the people about all this and how God takes care of those who are faithful. They should have remembered the things that took place back in Deuteronomy of, yeah, you know what, God did take care of us. And matter of fact, we have another example in Isaiah chapter 53, to where this love and this care and this protection will indeed continue when the Son comes on the scene. So let's see here in chapter 53 and verse 4, we see yet again and how it says, "Surely he hath borne our griefs, carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted." Yet another example of how God's love for the people, the love for souls to just simply be in right standings with Him, God endures all of this and ultimately will take care of those who are faithful to Him, those who want to live righteous. His Son is going to come to this earth, back in Isaiah 53, and He's going to endure all these conflicts and sorrows, all that so at the end of it, people will have hope of salvation. They'll have hope of freedom from their sins. So we can see here the nature of God and His love for the people in comparison to the false images and the false gods that were being worshipped back in the day. And the comparison is, they can't protect you. They can't do one single thing to protect and carry those who are faithful. Not when comparing to God. So, verse 4 said, "And even to your old age I am He, and even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made, I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you." So, this is a promise. And matter of fact, we can see some examples of how God will indeed take care of us. So in the book of Psalm, if we want to turn there, we can see some examples here of which, again, the people would have been taught over the years these sorts of mindsets. So let's see here. Go to Psalm 37. And it's going to be around 25. Let's see here. Psalm 37, 24. "Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread." So, yet another example from the psalmist here of if you're living a righteous life, just like Isaiah is trying to get the people to live, you're not going to be forsaken by God. God will not forsake those who are keeping the covenant and following the rules that He put out there. He's not going to forsake you. Just like us today who are Christians. We've obeyed the gospel. We've had the promise given to us that if we live faithfully, we'll receive a righteous crown, a glorious crown. And we know that God is a God of His Word. And when He says something, He does it. And He's proven this time and time again throughout the Scriptures. And for Him to tell us that we're going to receive a glorious crown as Christians, we have full faith and assurance in knowing that that will indeed come. Verse 4 says that I have made, I will bear, I will carry, and will deliver you. And every bit of this has been proven to the people up to this point. And all they have to do is go back and look at their own history of how He indeed carried them, bared with them, and delivered them from Egypt. Just like those who are righteous are going to be delivered from the captivity in Babylon that they're now facing. Another example of God being with us would be in Psalm 23. We can look at that. It Psalm 23:4, the whole psalm is great, but it says, let's see, verse 3, He restoreth my soul, He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff, they comfort me. And that should be the mentality that the people had, that no matter what they faced, they should have had comfort in knowing that they are on God's side. But instead, they had doubt. They shared in the fear of man, and they went after these false idols and started partaking and making them themselves. So Isaiah goes on with this message. And it says in verse 5, it says, To whom will ye liken me, and make me equal? Compare me, that we may be alike. So Isaiah is speaking on behalf of God here. Verse 6 says, They lavish gold out of the bag, weigh silver in the balance, and hire a goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. They bear him upon the shoulder. They carry him and set him in his place, and he standeth. From his place shall he not remove. Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet he cannot answer, nor save him out of his trouble. So yet again, Isaiah is painting the silliness that's taking place here of how they literally are having to put these little idols on their shelves. If they want the idol to move, they got to pick it up and set it somewhere else. And at the end of the day, this little idol cannot say anything to them. He cannot answer them. He cannot save them. He can't even move itself from one place to another. No matter how much gold and silver is thrown into this idol, it's still simply an image. It's a piece of material. It's an item. And it has no power when compared to God. So, God is not similar to any of the idols, and none of them have anything in common with God. And that is the message that Isaiah is trying to present to the people here. No matter how much silver and gold you put into this, it's not going to make a bit of difference. It's still simply an item. At the end of it all, it does remind you of the book of Ecclesiastes. If you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 2, all these folks that are putting their faith into these idols, there we go, I finally made my way there. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and it reminds you of verse 11. It says, Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. All the work and all the labor that these people were doing to create these images, thinking there's something special, at the end of the day, it was all vanity. It was all useless, worthless. It brought no good to the people. And that's what Isaiah is trying to say, and that's exactly what category they're going to fall in, is with Ecclesiastes chapter 2:11. It was all vanity. All of it was for nothing. All you did was cause division between you and God, and nothing else. So Isaiah is going through this. He's painting the picture. He's going into detail. He's comparing the images with the actual one and only God of heaven, and basically there is no comparison. Then Isaiah goes on to say, Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. Remember the former things of old. For I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So here we have Isaiah is showing the people that the God of heaven, the Creator, the one that they need to be worshiping, the one that can do something. Isaiah is saying you need to remember that when He says He's going to do something, He does it. When He says something's going to happen in the future, it happens. When He promises something, He follows through with it. He's proven this time and time again. And Isaiah is saying, remember the former things of old. Remember all this. For us Christians, remember the things that Christ endured. Remember how He died on the cross for our sins. Remember the sacrifice. It's the same thing for us today when we get misguided and we get off track. We may not be creating little silver or golden images, but we could very well be creating our own forms of idols that takes our focus away from what God wants us to do. Whether that be a hobby, whether that be watching TV, playing video games, whatever it may be, if we've formed something in our lives to remove us from God, then we are forming yet some sort of an idol that we want to put all of our focus in. And here's Isaiah saying, remember the former things of old. Same thing for us. Let's remember the things that took place that we can read in the Scriptures so that we can get ourselves back on track. That we're to be serving the God of heaven and giving Him all of our focus and making Him number one. Verses 10 and 11 here, it went on to say, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And this is where it gets interesting, and I'm going to ask the question. It says, calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass, I have purposed it, and I will also do it. So, who is this ravenous bird from the east that he may be talking about here? So let's think about this. So, he's calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel. So whoever this ravenous bird from the east is somebody that's going to do a part of the purpose that God's got in store for the people. That's right. So we had just read about Cyrus a couple chapters ago. Cyrus was going to be the guy and the hope that the people were going to have as they face this captivity. He was the one that was going to come in the scene. He was going to deliver them out of the captivity, and he was going to help them restore Jerusalem, the city, back to the way it once was. So the ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, and it says, God spoke it, He's going to bring it to pass, He's purposed it, and He will do it. And every bit of this came to fruition, and it happened exactly the way God said it would happen. And that's the amazing thing about the prophecies that is put out by these prophets. They are so detailed. For one, they named Cyrus by name. They give directions as to where he's coming from the east. You know, he's going to execute the counsel, and just like in a few chapters ago, he's going to help get the people back to rebuild the temple and the city, and every bit of it in great detail happened in the book of Daniel when we read that. So, verses 12 and 13, as we're going through this short chapter, it says, Hearken unto me, you stout-hearted, that are far from righteousness. I bring near my righteousness, it shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry. And I will place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. So, when we look at this, you know, We can, for one, see that God does promise righteousness and salvation for those who are willing to follow Him and live obediently unto Him. So I will bring my righteousness. It shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry. These are things that idols and false gods cannot deliver you. They can't. These stubborn-minded people, the stout-hearted, that are far from righteousness, they need to realize, and through Isaiah's help, maybe they will, but they need to realize that if you want righteousness and salvation, you need to get all of this silliness and foolishness of these little images. You need to get all that out of your life, because not one of them can do anything for you. And here you are, toting them around everywhere you go. So Isaiah ends this by telling the people that the only way for salvation and true protection is going to be to get back on the right track with God and to follow Him and to remember all the things that He's already done for them, bringing them out of Egypt, the hope of coming out of this captivity that they're going to face. The only way they're going to really survive this is if they put their faith in God. And that's the message that Isaiah is trying to give the people in this very short chapter here in Isaiah chapter 46. And as of right now, I'm going to ask if there's any questions for Isaiah 46. It was pretty straight and to the point with how he laid it out for the people. And if you guys got any comments, I'm willing to hear it. And if not, then I'm going to say we're going to cut class short and we'll prepare for worship then.